Hello, everyone. It is 8 o'clock. It is my first webinar. I am so excited to be online with you tonight and talking through 15 steps to college admissions ready. I have been wanting to do this for a long time. The goal is to make these webinars accessible to people who aren't necessarily in Atlanta or not at my in-person events. So I wanted to start getting online as well as get the process going for going forward, people who sign up for the courses and the advisory services that I offer. So tonight we are talking about 15 steps to being college admissions ready when it's time to apply for college. The steps begin long before junior or senior year, which is one of the biggest myths we definitely want to do away with. And I want to work with families and students to make sure that they understand that the process, to becoming college admissions ready, it starts in middle school. It truly starts in middle school. And it starts in middle school because there's some pieces that you become to understand in middle school that you really need to be enacting and not learning about. My daughter is a senior this year, or she just graduated from high school. And I'll tell you a little bit about me and why I started this. So Rochelle Valsaint is who I am. If you're here tonight and joining me, you've seen my emails, you've seen me on social media. I have been on the journey of college admissions advising since 2012 officially, but I've been in the role for years. I was on the alumni board of the University of Notre Dame, which is where I graduated from. And a part of my roles and responsibilities on that board, the alumni board, the Black alumni specifically, was to recruit Black students. And that was true and touched my heart because I was an inner city New Orleans girl high schooler at John F. Kennedy, which is a public school in New Orleans, which is known for its Catholic schools. But I was a public school girl that was a smart girl and found my way to the Notre Dame application process, which is a story in and of itself. But the point is, when my high school counselor asked me, where do you want to go to college? I had no idea, but I did have this dream that I wanted to leave New Orleans. I wanted to leave Louisiana. So I saw this golden dome on a folder and I asked him, well, what's that school? And he was glad to tell me. But not only was he glad to tell me, he got excited. So I went to Notre Dame. I got my college degree, my bachelor's from the University of Notre Dame, and graduated in 95. And then as I started volunteering in university alumni services a couple of years later, and wanted to pave the way for other students like myself. First generation, inner city. I came from working class parents. My dad was a truck driver. My mom worked at a sewing factory, and then she turned entrepreneur when she opened her beauty salon in the 80s in New Orleans. But working class parents, and I was the first in my family to go to college and the first to graduate. So I wanted to pave the way for other students like myself. And that's how I got on this journey. So in about 2012, my daughter was coming up on high school, and I wanted to make sure that if she didn't go to private school, because I wasn't sure we would be able to afford private school, that she had a path to make sure that she was able to get into the college of her choice. And creating that path sent me on the journey to create the e-college admissions planner. Since then, I've been developing it online. and putting together the classes and the courses and the tips and the tools and the templates you need to follow the path from middle school through to high school. And I am excited to say that my daughter will be starting at Pepperdine University in Malibu, California this fall. And she is a product of the e-college admissions planner process that I'm so proud of. So that's enough about me for right now. I'm going to get into the reason we're here and to talk about the 15 steps that will help our students be college admissions ready when it's time. So you should be seeing on your screen the start to our presentation tonight. What you see at the top in the picture is the homepage of my website, so you can visit that at any point, ecollegeplanner.com, and start to get the steps in your email box of some first steps. No matter what grade you're in, there are the steps from starting in 9th grade through high school, and the middle school steps will be up there soon. So let's get into it. Let's talk about step 1, and that is understanding the steps to college admissions planning. The key to that is in middle school, and you'll see me referring to my notes because I definitely wanted to write some things down and make sure I gave y'all everything when it comes to this. So middle school is very important in terms of 3 things. I think learning time management is critical in middle school. I think getting study habits in place is key in middle school. And the third thing is understanding what classes you need to take in high school to be college admissions ready. That is key because in many inner city schools or in any school these days, counselors are overworked and overburdened with the number of students that they have to counsel. And especially depending upon your school, there may be no college planning. So you want to understand in the middle school process and making your teachers aware, making your middle school counselor aware that you plan to go to college. Because there are classes you need to take all throughout high school, 4 English classes, 4 math classes. So you don't let a teacher tell you or a counselor tell you all you need to graduate from high school is 3 math classes, or all you need to graduate is 2 classes in some other language, because there are certain numbers of those classes that you need to even be admitted into college. So it's critical that you start your high school planning. We call that high school planning. What classes you're going to take, what years in middle school. So start that conversation early with your counselors and with your teachers about high school planning, and let them know, everybody who you come in contact, know that you plan to go to college. So you want to definitely make sure they help you on that track. So step 2 is understanding working with a guidance counselor. So here's why you need to know how to work with a guidance counselor, which means you need to be able to go to them and say, I want to go to college. But that also takes up for you to get up some nerve to start approaching adults and taking some initiative for your own education. For parents and or students that are listening to me, it is not just your parents' job to take the lead in making sure you have what you need educationally. Parents, you want to empower your students to start having conversations with their teachers, with their counselors, to help them develop the path. Because a teacher or a counselor that sees that a student is proactive and wants to do something and wants to go somewhere or is college bound is going to advocate for them in every way. That was my experience. And for many first generation college students, we all know it takes a village. So somebody sees you taking initiative and then they want to help you to your next step. So learning how to speak up, learning how to go to the counselor's office or set an appointment with your counselor to say, I want to know what I need to do to prepare and be college, to go to college and apply for college when it is time. Critical. Here's step 3. Okay, making the best grades possible. A lot of parents don't start telling their students or their children that, hey, you got to get the best grades possible. And I say start that at 8th grade. I think 6th grade and 7th grade are kind of transitional. You're coming out of elementary school. You're not quite sure with everything that's going on and all the changes, and that's okay. So those are transitional years. But 8th grade, going into 8th grade, you should be getting your best grades possible. B's, A's, and C's should not be your goal. The key here is also making sure you take the classes that are of your level. If you find that you're getting straight A's and things are easy for you, you need to talk to your counselor. This is, again, stepping up, talking to your counselor and saying to them, hey, if it's first semester, maybe I should look into taking an honors course second semester, and especially get into that when you're headed to high school. If you find that you're finding regular classes easy enough to be breezing through and getting A's, make sure you're talking to your counselor about honors classes in high school. And that will take you far. You know, it will prep you for college, and making good grades, staying with those good grades, asking for help. That's the other part. If you find yourself struggling in a subject, this is the time where you ask somebody for help. Nothing is wrong with asking for help. That same daughter I just talked to you about always wants to struggle through on her own, but getting a tutor, getting help from your teacher or your peers is critical. And knowing when you need to help and opening your mouth asking for that help is important. So go ahead and ask for help if you need it, but the goal is to make the best grade possible in middle school, or starting from middle school all the way through 12th grade. So that's step 3. Step 4, we want to make sure, like, here's where we start in 9th grade. You might start in middle school. You might even start in elementary school. My son started with the band or the orchestra in 4th grade. And now he is going into 9th grade, and he will be playing for the band. So starting in 8th, 9th grade, you should definitely explore your interests. If you like writing, try the yearbook. If you like the band or music, do the music thing. If science is your thing, get into the science club. If art is your thing, do art projects. Pursue what you love. Let me tell you why that's important. Pursuing what you love will ensure that you take leadership positions in the clubs that have them, and that will help you identify scholarship opportunities. The biggest little known fact is scholarships come, or finding scholarships and winning scholarships come the most from identifying the things that you love and finding the scholarships that match. So you could find a scholarship from, if I use myself as an example, a girl who loves writing from Louisiana. There are big companies and corporations you could find scholarships from. There are writing organizations that specific toward writing that I could find scholarships from. So once you start determining your interests and your hobbies, that is exactly where you will find your map, your roadmap to scholarships. And that's why we want to start determining them early and then becoming the leaders in the club. So I say start in 8th grade, figuring it out. By 9th and by 10th grade, you should be leading whatever organization you're interested in. Look toward leadership, because those will be the things that will help build your resume, and that will also point you towards your scholarship path. Now we're on step 5. And this one, as you can see, it says track your honors and achievements to build your resume. So why are you building your resume? Because colleges want well-rounded students. They don't just want students that are have straight A's and ace the standardized tests. They want students, if they have everybody that's pursuing science, they're going to have to round out their class, their college class. So it's their freshman or accepted class. They're going to have to round out that class with artists and writers and actors and computer scientists. So they want a well-rounded class. And that's why you're going to build your achievements, which is getting those straight A's. You're going to track them, which means writing them down on a tracking sheet that you will use in developing your essays, as well as building your resume to show a college that you're not just one thing. You are a well-rounded student, which is what colleges are looking for. Step 6. Let's talk about standardized tests. I read every day, which I think is interesting, that schools, colleges are saying, oh, well, you don't have to take the SAT or you don't have to take the ACT. We're not at a point where it doesn't matter completely yet, so we still have to take them. And the biggest trick to doing well on these standardized tests, either one, SAT or ACT, is taking them more than once. So my son actually took the PSAT in 8th grade in middle school and 7th grade, I believe, as well. But by 9th and 10th grade, he actually will be taking the test, the actual test, not just the pre one or the PSAT. And by 10th and 11th grade, you should be taking the test for your second or third time. There's no longer a time, like when I took the SAT one time and did well enough to get into Notre Dame. But in this day and age, the biggest thing or the greatest thing you can do for yourself is to take those standardized tests more than once, and then help build yourself in the areas that you're weak. There are Khan Academy, which is KHANACADMY.org or .com, I'm not sure, but there is free tutoring and training on the SAT and ACT. So if you go to Khan Academy, you can get free tutoring on that platform. Many families with means go out and pay lots of money to get their students test prepped. And you can do that free online at Khan Academy, and there are other resources. But the biggest thing is take that PSAT in 8th grade if you can, and start taking them once a year. You can do the SAT in 9th grade in the fall, and you can do the ACT in the spring. So you can switch them up and then start getting used to them. And then by the time it's 11th grade, you will have a comfort level with it. You'll be over your nerves, and that will help you get a higher score. So we want to get those standardized tests in early. And depending upon your financial situation at home, you could get vouchers. So you can certainly go to your high school counselor and If that's not something your family can pay for out of pocket, you can certainly talk to your high school counselor about a test voucher to allow you to take the test for free. Step 7. The key to understanding where we are here is to start choosing your colleges in 10th grade. Now, if you've done what you needed to do, which is map out your plan for high school planning, so you know you're on track to get the courses you need to get throughout high school, you're doing well in those classes, as we talked about earlier, and tracking your honors and getting involved in extracurricular activities, you will by 10th grade start to explore the notion of where do I want to go to college and finding the right fit. That right fit will be determined by the size, the location, what's offered from in their educational schools or in their schools. You whether it's an HBCU or whether it's a PWI, which is predominantly white institution, you will start to make those decisions, whether you want a big school that has 30,000 kids or a small school that has 2,500 students, or a mid-sized school which has 10, 12, 15,000 students. Those are the kinds of decisions that you'll start making to find the right fit college. And that's very important. You will come to understand those things through talking to other people. Ask family members who've gone to college, what schools they went to. You may want to explore another part of the country. We just talked about my daughter who is headed to California, and she said that she wanted to go to California since middle school. So California schools came up on her list. I actually was encouraging her to go out of the country, but hopefully we'll get that in sophomore year with some study abroad opportunity. Or you might want to stay close to home. So for another student and family that I have worked with previously, he is here in Atlanta, which is where we live, and he goes to Georgia Tech, which is 30 minutes away from home. So finding the right fit college for you starts that exploration with conversations in 10th grade and starting to answer those questions. And within my templates and tools packet, which comes with that you can get as a part of the college admissions planner, I will give you the tools to help you start to navigate that for yourself. We're on step 8. And in step 8, we want to start talking about the money. The money is so critical. And while I put it here at 10th grade, I'll say again, starting on the college admissions planning journey, best starts in middle school, because once you start to think about where you're going, what you're going to study, what your interests are, that's when you're able to start to develop your scholarship list. And developing that scholarship list will help you pay for college. You can ask your parents if they went to college, how did they pay for it? If you find yourself in a situation like where you like me is from a working class family and your family contribution won't be a lot, you will definitely need those scholarships from the merit scholarships from the college of your choice, as well as the other scholarship opportunities to solidify paying for school. I got half my education paid for at Notre Dame, and then I had to finance the other half with college loans. But knowing what I know now, you can definitely finance your education with a lot more scholarships if you start the process early enough. And I think 10th grade is the time to sit down as a family and start to have a real roundtable discussion about what is reasonable to expect your parents to be able to afford, and knowing what the possibility of that family contribution is, you can start building your plan around financing your college education. So now we're into that whole scholarship search, right? And you see the grades that I have it identified here as 10th and 11th, but you're identifying those scholarships and you've started to build that list up through the summers. The reason we're having this conversation right now, I said when I sent this information out to you, I think summer is the best time to build your college admission plan. So you turn off the work that you have to do for school in May or June. I think taking advantage of those 2 to 3 months, 2.5 months that you have off from school and doing what you need for college admissions, this is the perfect time to do that, whether it's in addition to working for the summer or doing an enrichment opportunity and doing some kind of educational opportunity, building your scholarship list, starting to do some research on scholarships, and developing your college application pieces, identifying that right fit list. Summertime is the best time to take advantage of that kind of, or build that information to make yourself college admissions ready. So you're going to start identifying those scholarships and make a list. I also have a template for that in the template and tools packet that you can get as a part of the e-college admissions planner. So look for those things, think about that. And in 10th grade, we're going to start building that list. So, and it will continue into toward 11th grade, because when you get to senior year, your list should already be built and you're just ready to go with applying. Step 10. So now we're in high school comfortably, and you won't need recommendations until your senior year. But 10th and 11th, as you're going through, you want to start keeping an eye out for teachers that you have a good rapport with. And those are the teachers you're going to approach to give you a student recommendation. All colleges, all college applications want recommendations from teachers. And therefore, you should be developing some relationships with your teachers and a good rapport with 3 to 4 teachers throughout 10th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade to be able to go back to them and ask them for a recommendation, or before you even leave them. So say you're in 10th grade, it's the end of the school year, and you had a great year with Mrs. Jones. Before you leave for the summer, you should approach Mrs. Jones and say, hey, I had a great year in your class, and I'd love to put you down as one of the teachers I can reach back to and get a teacher recommendation when it's time for college. So start looking out for those teachers early, start building that list so you can go back to them. Here, so you see this one's pretty simple as it's laid out in terms of timing. So you want to be able to finalize that essay or those essays the summer before 11th grade year. And why you want to do it the summer before 11th grade year is when you're headed into 11th grade, everything gets busy. It's a critical year. It's one of the tougher years academically as well. So you want to start writing ideas and actually drafting some essays as the summer before you head to 11th grade year. Now, finalizing them means You're going to put those drafts down and get them in the best form possible. And then close them up, let them breathe, and you don't think about it for a little while. And college application essays, the truth of the matter is you probably are going to develop 5 essays total. A long one, some medium essays, and some short essays. And you should be developing topics for them in 9th and 10th grade. And then the summer before your 11th grade year, you're going to start writing them out. I actually have an essay course or boot camp that I offer, and I will send you guys that information on the essay boot camp. But that essay boot camp takes you through to help you develop those up to 5 essays that you'll need to use not only for the college application, but those essays will also be able to be reworked for scholarships. That's the beauty of it. And if you approach essays as its own work and its own process, that's the best way to do it, because you don't want to wait till senior year and you're stressed and you're rushed and you're trying to get everything done and squeezed in at the same time, and therefore you don't get your best product. The best way to approach essays is before they're needed, way before they're needed, to write them, put them away, and then come back to them. And the best way to get on track to do that is to start attacking that work in 10th grade or the summer before 10th, and finalizing it the summer before 11th grade. Understanding your hook. All right, so this goes to the notion of those extracurriculars you started to explore in 9th and 10th grade. By 11th grade, you know what you're loving. You know you love painting, or you know you love acting, or you know math is your thing. And your hook is to say that you are the trumpet playing karate master that also builds the greatest woodwork. That becomes your hook. That becomes the thing you build your essays around. That becomes the things that you start to look for scholarships on. That is your thing. It is the thing or things that are personal to you, that you love, and that you could love spending your life exploring. That's what your hook is, and that will be the thing that will drive you to want to study something long term in college. You know, that people will say, well, what are you going to study? Your hook becomes the thing that intersects many of the things you love. So for me, just to give you an example, I didn't understand what I love because no one had ever really encouraged me to name my interests, but I did them anyway, just like breathing. I have always journaled since I was in middle school. I can now say confidently at 45 that I loved writing. And the first time I remember writing things or journaling was the first grade exercise our teacher had us do every day, which was for handwriting. Every day we had to write in our journal books. Today is Thursday. It is a sunny day. And that was a handwriting exercise, right? But I loved everything about that. And that was the first time I now can look back and say I loved writing. Throughout middle school, high school, college, and even my adult years, I've always kept a journal, which now I can say I'm a writer. In college, what that turned, when someone asked me, what do you want to do when you graduate? So I didn't learn about my hook until senior year. I said, I want to work and make sure that BET stops running the same commercials. And they still do. If you watch any television channel, you realize they run the same commercials, and I was sick of seeing them. So I said that's what I wanted to do, and someone named that PR or public relations. And then I said, no, what I really want to do also is what Darren does on Bewitched. And then somebody told me that was advertising. And I can tell you, advertising and marketing is what I do today. It allows me to write. It allows me to be creative, and takes all the things I love, and I still love it to this day. So I now can say to the next person, my daughter, my son, explore what you love. And so what I'm talking about with this hook is you tapping into doing what you love early on. And by 11th grade, you will know some of the things you love, and that will help you build your college career. And I want you to do your best to seek that out, because it's going to, again, help you with scholarships. It's going to help you with your essays. It's going to help you with your college application. All right, so we're into applying for scholarships. So you see, we're also saying that this should be done the summer before 11th grade year as well, which means the summer before 11th grade year is busy, isn't it? So that means you got to line some things up to even be ready to apply for those scholarships. You have to have the list of scholarships you're applying for. You have to have the idea of what your hook is. You have to know what you love, and you have to know where you're searching for them from. So those are the three things you need to have in place the summer before 11th grade to start applying for them. And if we're starting from middle school, which is where we talked about at the beginning of this, you will be in a very good place by this summer before 11th grade to start looking for and applying to scholarships. Your application strategy and organization plan. So what does that mean? That means understanding how many schools are you applying to? Is it 7? Is it 4? Is it 9? Is it 20? I have heard in all those ranges. I actually encourage students to do 7 to 9. 9 would be 3 that you know you could get into, 3 you're comfortable at, and 3 that are reach schools or a little bit above what your essays and grades say. So those are the 3 levels that I encourage students to apply to, which means 9 schools. And that means you need to have a plan, because and be organized, because when it comes time to apply to them, you need to know what those schools will be asking for within the application. Is it on the Common App, or do you have to do that as a separate one? And here's a big one for parents. Knowing how much college applications cost. You could spend, on 9 schools, you could easily spend $1,000 on college applications. Now, if you, again, this is another place where you can get vouchers from your counselor, depending upon your financial situation. But if you are, like I found myself, we applied to 8 schools for my daughter. And coming out of pocket with that money without understanding that it was, or planning for it, can hit you really hard. But having a strategy and an organization plan, knowing, okay, how many can I get in Common App? How much does it cost to apply to each school? Because it's not all the same cost. Knowing what the deadlines are, knowing what each school is asking for, those are all important in getting that plan and strategy and organization together. So that's why we want to do that. And we want to do that by 11th grade. 11th grade is when we want to get that done. So you see how busy 11th grade is, because a lot of prep is happening before you get to senior year. We're at the last step here, and this is critical to understanding college admissions. In the competitive space that we're in with college applications, it is best to apply to colleges early. That means having all application information in by October, November instead of January. To be ready to do that, that means everything has to be done before you enter 12th grade or the summer before 12th. Your essays have to be done. Your plan of knowing when things are due for early apps, all that has to be together before you go into senior year. So applying early is critical to getting in, because I just said, it's very competitive to get into schools now, and they accept more students in the early application process than they do in the regular application process. So we want to be prepared to apply early to as many of our schools as possible to set us up for the best admission plan. And in order to do that, all the steps we talked about earlier should be started in middle school to keep us on track to be able to apply early. Or even if you're not applying early and you're doing regular action, or organizing to figure out which schools you do early and which schools you do regular action, all those steps line up to get you in the place where you can make the decision, okay, I'm going to apply for 4 of my schools early and the other 5 regular action, or vice versa. So the point is to get the steps in place for you to have everything ready to go before you enter 12th grade year. So you're not scrambling. You know what your test scores are. Your grades have been in great shape up until this point. You know what your hook is. You got your your honors in order. You got your scholarship plan in order. So you can see there's so much to do that most of the time people think about college planning in 11th grade. And that's the biggest mistake. There is no way you can get everything done productively and proactively on top of your schoolwork if you start junior year. And that is the biggest deterrent for people going to college. Because they start the process later, they're overwhelmed by it, and therefore they don't end up at the best option for themselves. They don't even know what right fit school means because they never had time to really research and understand what they want. So they just end up at whatever school somebody points them toward instead of having a real say in where they want to pursue their college education. And college is the safest space to start exploring your interests, start working, start getting used to being out in the world. And so I still think college is valuable. Some people are asking the question, well, is college even necessary with how much it costs and how expensive it is? And my answer is yes. I think it's the best investment still that you can make in yourself if you're the student, or in your child if you are the parent, to set them up for success in this world. Now, of course, I say that with the caveat of financing college is a critical part of that conversation, which is why we want to get the scholarship conversation in there. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be just some super genius to get scholarships. So all that to say, we want to apply early. We want to be prepared to apply early, and that requires having everything done by the summer after your 11th grade year and before your 12th grade year. So you are in the best place possible to apply early if that's your choice, or be prepared, or make the choice to apply for things regular action. So those are the steps that are in place. And I am so excited you joined me tonight to talk through them on this one. With those 15 steps in place, though, you can see that there are probably a webinar on each and every one of them. We could totally spend 45 minutes to an hour on each of them individually, but just knowing these steps sets you up for success, because you know what to even consider in this process now. And I am so glad I got to share that with you tonight. The other thing I want to make sure you know before you leave me tonight is this was the first in a series of webinars. The next free webinar will be about identifying those scholarships. How do you develop your scholarship plan to get access to the millions of dollars out there of scholarships, the millions of dollars of scholarships there are out there. So July 18th, which is a Wednesday as well, at 8 o'clock, I'm going to have Mark Stucker with me on a webinar to talk through the college scholarship search and set up for success, and finding them and getting them, getting money for yourself to help finance college. And with that being said, I am going to open the floor for any questions. The way you're going to do that, there is a chat at the bottom of your screen, so you can type something in there. Somebody should have a question, maybe or maybe not, but we're going to see if there are any questions out there. You can type them in the chat box and I will start to answer them. I am looking forward to hearing what questions you may have. Because as I said, each one of these can be a webinar on its own. How do you test prep? What are you looking for? That right fit is critical. Understanding and wanting to find the right fit for you, because me going to Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana, with about 12,000 students total population, was a great fit for me. But as I said, I identified I wanted to leave Louisiana. That was a thing I wanted to do. So I looked for schools outside of Louisiana. And I also had a full ride to any school in Louisiana. So I had that as a backup, but I wanted to leave Louisiana and see something besides New Orleans. And so that was a part of my choice. And your students have the same option to identifying what's the right fit. Do you want to stay close? Do you want a big school? Do you want a small school? Do you want a school that focuses on whatever your area of interest is? Or do you want to go to school and explore a few things before you land on what you actually want to study? These are all questions you want to be answering. But to be in the best position to answer those questions, you want to set yourself up by doing all of those steps. Hey, Tracy, I see you. I see your question there. And you say your daughter's a senior, and you notice that many scholarships have a period date identified as this school year versus next year. Are there scholarships that allow you to apply early? So the real answer to, yes, some scholarships will allow you, not all of them. So your best bet is to identify your list. So with her being, she's a rising senior, I'm assuming, like she'll be a senior this coming year, not a senior that graduated. Preparing the list to start applying her senior year will be the best thing to do. So she won't there are some. So the short answer is yes, there are some scholarships that will allow you to apply early. There are fewer of those that will let you apply early, though, than there are that want you to apply for that senior year. And the other key thing to know about scholarships is that you can continue to apply for scholarships throughout college. You are not limited to only getting scholarships your freshman year of college. You can apply for scholarships. There are scholarships specifically for college students, so past freshman year. And that is important to note that, hey, you might apply for a scholarship this year or may not become aware of a scholarship until after the deadline. If it allows college students to do it, and many of them do, you also have the opportunity to continue to do that freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. So scholarships are an ongoing thing, even into grad school. I gave you the short answer, which is yes, there are some that will allow you to do it early, but most of them want you to do it senior year going into college, and then you have the opportunity to continue throughout college to apply for scholarships. Thank you for asking that question, Tracy. Let me know if you have any others. It is 8:50, and that means we have a little more time to answer any other questions that come up. And then if we don't, I'm definitely going to cut this short and get us where we need to be. You are so welcome. And thank you for joining me tonight. Anything else anyone else wants to ask? All right. If there's no other questions, I'm just going to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. And look, you will get in your email box the information about the scholarship webinar that will be held in July, as well as some specials on the e-college admission planner program. You will get some great discounts because you joined me on the webinar and the upcoming webinar. So look for your discounts. And Tracy and I will encourage everybody else, get your daughter signed up for the tips, templates, and to-dos to get her on track to apply for scholarships. To apply to be college admissions ready as she heads into her senior year. I appreciate everybody being on tonight, and I will look for me in your email boxes. You also have my email address at ecollegeplanner@gmail.com. That is my email address. And always you have the website there you can go to or email me. And I look forward to seeing y'all out on the interwebs. Reach out to me with any questions you have. I'm always glad to answer. I appreciate you joining me tonight. And now I'm going to sign off. Rochelle Valsaint of eCollege Admissions Planner. Have a good evening, everybody.